Hey, how's it going, everybody? And welcome back into Mock Draft Week here on the SFS channel, where for 7 days in a row, I'll be posting a mock draft in addition to my regularly scheduled content, which consists of 6 videos. So this week we've got 11 actually with those extra added in mock drafts. But today's Thursday, so it's day 4 of 7. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we'll have some more of these going on. And by all means, I would love to have you guys become a part of those. We do subscriber mock drafts twice a week, and to get involved in that, all you gotta do is head down into the description of today or any video that you watch here on the SFS channel and click that free community Discord invite link, and that's where I drop the invitation to join the Sleeper Fantasy mock drafts with me. And you can hop in here, have your picks featured on the channel. I'll break down your team at the end of the video. It's a great time, and I'd love to have you guys in there. Additionally, I've been giving away some, or at least started some giveaways in that community Discord for the 2021 Draft Guide collection here on the channel, where you guys will get access to my top 250 player rankings, as well as draft guide profiles for each of those players, where I break down their situation, recap their 2020 season, and give them a draft positional analysis based off of their current ADP, as well as an instant rating for their ceiling, their fantasy floor, and their risk at their current draft price. So something great to take advantage of. Again, we're giving those away, or at least some of them per week in that Discord, but you can go check that out. The link to the draft guides are in the description of today's video as well. But today, a full PPR mock draft. We're going offline today just because I don't want to hit the guys in the Discord too hard and have a mock draft out there every single day. But we'll be back again on Saturday morning with some of those community members. So let's get this thing kicked off. 16 rounds, 12 teams. We're picking from the 1.8 spot. I try and change up my draft position every video here, and we'll see what picks are left available for me on the table. Again, this is full PPR, 16 rounds, 12 teams. You see it up in the top left of the screen. But here we go. Actually, I think this might be cut off, so you might not be able to see up that high on the board. But nonetheless, that is the format for today's video. All right, that sucks. My first 6 running backs, roughly, are off the board right now. So I'm going to have to make a decision. Do I want to take the first wideout off the board with Travis Kelce no longer being on the table? Or do I want to pull the trigger on... Well, actually, here. All the better. I figured out the solution to my plan. So on my draft guide, I've also got positional rankings in addition to that big board rankings list. And so I just peeked around there and I saw that Aaron Jones, who I actually have as my fantasy, I believe he's my RB6 for this coming season now that Aaron Rodgers is back in town. He was still hanging out there on the board. I thought he was gone because I expected with Barkley being off the board so early that he would have, went a couple picks prior to him. I've actually slid Saquon Barkley back in my rankings quite a bit with the news that he might not be ready to go week 1. I still think he's a league winner. I still think he could finish as the RB1 overall, but that certainly increases our risk and ability to win those early season games. So that's something that's got to be factored into his draft price. But Aaron Jones, 2020 RB6, 2019 RB2, and he loses the biggest threat to his workload in Green Bay, that being Jamal Williams, to free agency. So you're looking at a player who's got a lot of talent, very dynamic skill set, and potential to be used in that offense, gaining some volume back. So with the explosive ability he's got, what he can do as a pass catcher, I just think that's a great situation. And at the 1.8 draft pick, it doesn't feel all that early to me making that pick. We've only got about 20 seconds left on the draft clock here. I think that was a foolish mistake by the computer there to take Pat Mahomes at the 2-4. I think that team's going to end up be hurting a little bit later on because of that choice. I'm strongly considering drafting Naji Harris here over DeAndre Hopkins, because I think the running back crop is not going to make it to where I'd like it to be. Hoofed. We got that pick off at the horn there. So essentially my thought process here, there are so many quality wide receivers that in the 3rd round, I could potentially snag a Keenan Allen, an Allen Robinson, among other names that I would like to see. And it looks like A-Rob made it back to me unless I am losing it here. Yeah, so Allen Robinson's still on the table for me. And as a wide receiver 1 in a PPR league, that is very, very good volume and stability to have at that spot. Naji Harris, just to talk about that draft pick quickly before I move on here. He is a player who has the potential to be used very dynamically as well, in addition to Aaron Jones. And I've actually got him ranked as a top 12 fantasy running back. So getting 2 RB1s on this team is a pretty big deal when you consider the positional scarcity, especially in these 12-team leagues, with how many of the NFL's starting running backs are being put out in fantasy lineups. There's only about 8 running backs that aren't going to be in a team's RB1 or RB2 spots, and that doesn't even take into consideration how many flex positions your league has to fill. So having that 1-2 punch there is going to be very, very important to how this team is going to be able to shape out come the end of the season. So I want to make sure that we play the board right here. I could take a Chris Carson. I could take a David Montgomery here. Or I could wait, because I think that the receiver crop in the 4th might be just where I like it. You know what? We're gonna hope that since this is full PPR, the computer favors receivers a bit more, and some of those backs fall to us. It looks like we might get robbed here, and we don't. So we come out clean. That's a big deal. David Montgomery was one of the 2 players in addition to Chris Carson. I was hoping that I could, scrape up off the value train here, and one of them ends up falling to me. I've been getting sniped in a lot of videos recently where the guy I want goes a pick or 2 right before me on the board, and it's quite frustrating. But I've just locked myself up 2 RB1s and a wide receiver 1. Allen Robinson is my 2021 wide receiver 10 right now, and that's been pretty consistent throughout the entire offseason. I love the idea of what he can do with Justin Fields on the field in the backstretch of the season, and the floor is always excellent. So you talk about just putting together a really strong trio with those first 3 picks, and it's not a popular thing to do, and it's not something I would encourage you to do, but I'm dabbling in the Bears market a bit more than usual with back-to-back Bears, and David Montgomery will come in, fill that running back 3 position, and give me a really, really strong group. I've got him as a high upside running back 2 for this season, just ranked outside of the RB1 group for me. He's going to get the volume. He's going to have the potential to not be a highly used player in the receiving game, but he has potential to be used that way. Tariq Cohen's going to come in and be the main pass catcher out of the backfield, but Montgomery can hold his own there too. Definitely the favorite goal line option for that Bears team. Damian Williams has some nice size, but Montgomery should be a 3-down back when he's fully healthy and when this team is in games properly. So this is another reason I waited. This might be one of my most popular picks here on the channel over the last 3 weeks. I have been smashing the draft button on Tyler Locket here recently because the upside is ridiculously high. My comparison for him, not necessarily from his skill perspective, but how we look at him in fantasy and how we assess his value in the National Football League, Tyler Locket is this little 5-year segment's Jordy Nelson. He's the player that no one respects as a top-end wide receiver in the league. I don't think anyone even considered Jordy Nelson much more than a barely fringe top 10 wide receiver at any point in his career. But he was dang good in fantasy. He was always there on a week-per-week basis, giving us 100-yard games, 100 yards and a touchdown, 150 performances sometimes. That's what Locket does. He gives you that production week in and week out when he's healthy. How does he do that? Chemistry with his quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, they did it almost better than anyone in that stretch of time that they were in their primes, clicking with one another. Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, it's the same deal. When those two are on, when Tyler Lockett is healthy, which he wasn't for a large part of last year, they were on fire. Look at his games. Look at the highs that he got to last season with DK Metcalf on the field. DK definitely infringes upon his workload, but he doesn't limit him in terms of his upside. So a player I have been loving to hit that draft button on here recently. Hoofda, we are quickly running out of time here. PPR league again, so it looks like I'm probably going to want to go to a receiver here. I'm going to snatch up Deontay Johnson as a wide receiver 3. So we spent our first 6 picks on the running back and wide receiver position groups. Both of those groups played out absolutely excellent based off of my expectations heading into this draft. So what was I say? Oh, so I got myself the safe floor play in Allen Robinson and the elite ceiling play with Tyler Lockett. Deontay Johnson had 144 targets last season. So that just gives me another element of security and safety at the receiver position that I feel very comfortable with that top 3 group that I have at both running back and wide receiver. So looking at the board now, I have a lot of choices I could go with, and I actually see a running back I love to snatch up as my RB4 here. And it's looking like I'm going to fade the tight end spot because a lot of the names I like are off the board and not available. So what I'm going to do with this pick, here's kind of my game plan, my strategy as we head into the 7th and 8th rounds. I'll walk you guys through it. So knowing that I'm playing the board and not necessarily real players here based off ADP, Aaron Rodgers is the 3rd best player available, which means he won't make it back to me for my 8th round pick. That's probably fair. He should be going in the 7th round. The next player up I want is Michael Carter. Pass-catching running back, rookie player, fresh legs for the Jets, a 3rd round pick, and expected to be the team starter. He comes in for my team not to be a starter, but down the stretch, as his role expands in the Jets offense and as he becomes a more seasoned player, understands, reading offensive linemen, finding holes in the blocking schemes, he should hit home very strong down the stretch. And again, having that pass-catching element as a part of his game will be a big deal. So we go Rodgers here. Let's hope that Carter falls down to us. There's not a chance that he's going to be available for us in the back stretch. Usually what typically happens, the trend in all league scoring formats, and by the way, I will have a standard mock draft coming out later this week, which isn't something I've been all too bullish about getting out to you guys this season. I've been focusing mainly on PPR and half PPR, but do not worry, I will be having a standard mock draft come out in addition to, I think I'll have an 8-man draft coming out maybe Sunday. And then I think Friday's episode, we're going to do another 10-team league where this was 12. So a lot of different things going on in the coming week's video. So make sure you are around and stay tuned for that content. But here we go. The trend has been, boom, Trey Sermon goes off the board real quickly after Michael Carter is being snatched up. I don't understand, and I could not tell you, there's no justification for why Kenyon Drake or James Conner are being taken ahead of Michael Carter. They simply do not have the upside. And they frankly don't have a floor either because they're not starters on their own team. So in what world would you want to pick James Conner, who is likely just going to be used as a goal line hammer to sub in for Chase Edmonds when the team gets down inside the 2-yard line? Why would you pick him over Carter? You're praying for an injury to happen, and then at best, James Conner is an inefficient running back who doesn't get the job done. Kenyon Drake, same deal. He's a goal line player, but he wasn't very effective with the Cardinals last season as their starter on a per-touch basis. So this team is playing out almost perfectly based off of how I started this thing off here. I got myself a little bit of an NFC North hot hand here, picking Rodgers and Jones and then Robinson and Montgomery. But hey, these are just dang good fantasy players. I'm just simply drafting the best and most valuable players to my roster as we go about things here. The only starting spots that we haven't filled out is tight end or defense, and I'm not feeling too rushed to address either of those positions. My top tight end I would like to pick here is Robert Tonyan. But you see, as I say that, you hear me grimace. I don't want to pick 3 Packers on this team, and I really don't like Robert Tonyan that much. When you catch 52 of 59 passes the season prior, that just kind of indicates that you outperformed any expectations or any realistic scope of production that you ever should have been able to reach. 52 out of 59 targets is a ridiculous marker to be at. Oh, man. I'm going to play it safe here. This is a pick I really haven't made on the channel at all. Tyler Boyd is insanely disrespected, not even from a fantasy lens, from an NFL lens. Like, literally, you see all these hype posts from the NFL, from ESPN about, look at the Bengals weapon room and whatever. It's never has Tyler Boyd on. It's so sad. Tyler Boyd was one of my favorite wide receiver 2s to draft last year, and he was like a weekly start. The guy had a couple 1,000-yard seasons under his belt, some nice target performances. He's a very good player, a very solid wide receiver. And it's always Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Never a mention, never a sight of Tyler Boyd. It's very sad to see. You hate to see it for our man Tyler Boyd. But nonetheless, I think that he'll be the number 3 option in this offense this coming season. one could argue that he was surpassed already by T. You could look at it as he's the wide receiver 2 or the wide receiver 3 on this team. I personally look through it as the lens of he is the wide receiver 2, because in my opinion, down the stretch of the year, when I cut the tape on, to me it looked like T. Higgins was commanding more targets and demanding the football be placed in his hands more than Tyler Boyd. And Tyler Boyd certainly got his looks, had his production, but to me, the more dominant player looked as if it was T. Higgins down the stretch. So I might jump on one more wideout here. Got some options. Corey Davis is definitely solid. He could be a 1 for his team. I'm going to go another route. A player I haven't talked about so much here on the channel, Curtis Samuel. So I put together a really nice top 5 wide receiver group with Allen Robinson, Tyler Lockett, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel. I feel like I can genuinely go with any other team's starting wide receiver lineup. I mean, yeah, this team is absolutely loaded. Picked 4 straight receivers off the board, but I mean, I feel that their weakness at running back will end up trashing them down the stretch of the year. These 2 picks are, I don't want to say meaningless, but when you consider these 4 guys, they're probably not going to see the starting lineup all that much. And then Trevor Lawrence is your quarterback. He's a high-end QB too, but I think that this receiver room has a combination of both floor and A-Rob, floor and Deontay Johnson, and then ceiling with Tyler Lockett and this Curtis Samuel pick here, who's playing with good old gunslinger Fitzmagic. So we're putting together a nice group here. And then my running backs are miles better than that team's lineup is. Who are we working with? Kareem Hunt and Rojo. Yikes, that is tough. Those are marginal RB2s at best. And Rojo, I don't even have in my top 24 running back rankings. So that is quite the weak group, if you ask me. All right, back to our team here. We got to make a pick. I haven't even talked about Curtis Samuel that much yet, so it's probably important I just pick somebody and fill you guys in on the details of my draft choices here. There is still a need for a tight end, but I think I see a name I like, and I can wait a bit on here. So ADP tells me it's not a good choice, but I'm taking Jamal Williams here. Give me the back that can come in, be a 3-down player if something happens to DeAndre Swift. He is my RB5 in this team, so it's not like I'm going to need him very often. It'll be infrequent that he's utilized on this team. And I think that for a player who, again, has the size to maybe vulture some goal line carries away from DeAndre Swift, it's a smart play here. He played 40% of the Packers snaps last season, so clearly he's talented, can get on the field. He was digging into Aaron Jones' workload. That'll be something to note this year. But that Curtis Samuel pick, out of the slot, he gets a lot of separation. He's dynamic. He can be used as a running and receiving threat. He's kind of Randall Cobb-esque in the fact that he can be lined up in the backfield and just used as a weapon. His routes, again, if you take a look at something I've referenced here a couple times this week, is Matt Harmon's reception perception, where he basically just grades every time a receiver gets open and puts together statistical markers about how successful they are against man or zone coverage, what routes they're running the most, what routes they have the most success on. And Curtis Samuel is a dang underrated player. That Ohio State receiving room is going to be very good in Washington with Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin being former players together there. That's a good 2-receiver group to invest into. The floor might be a little bit shaky, but they definitely have stuff going for them on that the ceiling department there. So I'm going to have to make another pick here very quickly. I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins here. Lock up a QB2. I'm a lot higher than most are on Kirk Cousins this fantasy season. Fitzmagic's a little bit early for me. Kirk Cousins graded out very well last year, to be quite frank. A little bit of a defense run there. He just has such a nice floor because of the weapons he's passing the ball to that there isn't really too much risk. And I can plug him in. I think week 16 or 17 this year, he had like 35 fantasy points. You're throwing a Thielen and Jefferson. I mean, and Dalvin Cook can do some damage out of the backfield as well as a screen pass catcher. So Kirk's not going to run around the yard, throw passes crazy far downfield outside the pocket or anything. But with the guys he's got to work with, I mean, there's no reason not to get a safe backup option. The NFC North run has just been ridiculous today. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 NFC North players in 13 rounds drafted. All right, so I really don't want to make the pick yet, but I'm afraid he won't make it back to me. I still need a tight end, but I know exactly who I want. Decisions. Do I want to sacrifice Russell Gage here, or do I want to roll the dice? Let's see. What would my worst case scenario be? Oh, God. I don't know if I can afford to. See, I'm looking for Adam Troutman here, if you haven't gathered that already. It's supposed to go 7 picks from now. Let's see. 2 tight ends for that team. 2 tight ends for that team. So basically, I just have to pray that all right, we're going to do it here. We're going to roll the dice. Russell Gage. One of my favorite sleeper picks. If Team 12 doesn't take him, we're golden. And he takes Gerald Everett. Whew. That was risky business there. We'll take Troutman here in just a sec after I talk through things. So Russell Gage is going to be absorbing some of that leftover target share from Julio Jones departing from the Falcons last year, and that is very valuable workload. And he saw 110 targets in 2020. So in the 13th round, you're telling me I can get a player with that type of volume. Maybe he doesn't have top-end talent, but he does have top-end usage. So give me Gage this year. Again, one of my favorite sleeper picks. He's in the draft guide. I wrote a fantastically glowing page about him where I basically just preached, please draft Russell Gage. But yeah, that's why we went there. And then no questions asked. I have to pick Adam Troutman at this spot. The explanation, the reasoning behind doing this is that I think if you let the first 5 or 6 tight ends off the board past you, there's no reason not to wait till the end. They're all just high upside flyer picks. There's little to no guarantee with any of these guys. Cole Kmet's the same way. His fantasy outlook looks nice this year. Jared Cook does too. Gerald Everett's got the chance to be a Jimmy Graham-esque threat in the red zone. But there's no stability, no floor here. So you might as well just take a chance on one of them. If they don't work out, use the waiver wire. That's what I got to tell you. If you're in a super deep league where maybe there's not any options on the waiver wire, yeah, sure. Then draft 2 or 3 tight ends late. Like, throw your darts at low-end risk investment to the tight end spot outside of your Hawkinsons, Andrews, Kelce's, Darren Waller's, George Kittle's, and Kyle Pitts. If you're going to take one of those top 6 players, great, do that. You're giving yourself a positional advantage at the tight end position. But don't come out here like Team 9 and pick Noah Fant and then Robert Tonyan in the 7th and 9th round. Because what happens is that more likely than not, Noah Fant will hit as a top 10 fantasy tight end. So then what are you doing here picking Robert Tonyan in the 9th round? What is he doing to help your team? Because I can almost promise you're not going to flex a tight end. Look over here, Gronkowski and Higbee. I think Gronk will hit. I think he'll be a touchdown or bust player and give you the value you're looking for. So then what are you doing here in the top of the 11th round picking Tyler Higbee when you could have had Darnell Mooney? You get what I'm saying? So a lot of stuff I don't like. Hoofda, we got to make a choice here. Dolphins defense, hoofda. Man, we had 2 seconds. A little bit of a rant there. Got the defense I wanted. I think that was the best team available there. I love Brian Flores' like mask defenses where he doesn't really show the other team what he's doing. I think that results in a lot of sacks, a lot of turnovers. That changes big time, obviously, if Xavier Howard isn't there because you're looking at taking off 5 to 10 picks per year. But, yeah, I think that's a solid defense. I don't think I'd rather have the Titans or the Seahawks over them for sure. So at this spot, I think that's appropriate. What I talk about here in my mock drafts is when you're looking at how to assess defenses, I do have defensive rankings on my draft guide, but essentially in terms of figuring out where to draft your defense at, I would just say wait till your league sees a run, and if that happens, like I would characterize this as the start of a defensive run, 4 straight teams off the board. Then yes, any of these teams could have went for a defense, but they chose not to. And I chose not to. That's fine. I waited 2 more rounds later. But I think that you either are on the front end of the run or the back end. If you're on the front end, obviously take the defense. But if you're on the back end, there's going to be a lot of value falling to you. For the simple fact that while they were investing into one position, players who are supposed to have being drafted at other spots are falling down the board to your draft position. So Traquan Smith will be the last pick in today's video. And other than that, if there's not a run, I'd wait till the second to last round of your draft to pick a defense. But Tre'Quan Smith, just like Adam Troutman, is a sleeper pass catcher for that Saints offense. No Michael Thomas means there's a lot of empty targets in that offense that need to be soaked up by somebody. I don't care if it's Jameis. I don't care if it's Taysom Hill. You need to have a passing game. So if that's absent from that offense, without MT, they're going to be in big trouble, but I think that Troutman and Tre'Quan Smith can do their part in eating up that opportunity and becoming quality picks this year. So that'll do it for today's mock draft. I'll take a look at the team one last time before we head on out of here. But Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Naji Harris, the top 3 players in the lineup there. Jones and Naji Harris for my first and second round picks. Allen Robinson being my third rounder. I felt really good with that core at the start of the board. And then Tyler Locket was, I believe, the 5th round pick here? Yep, 5.8 pick. Super good upside there. I think the floor is fantastic as well if he's fully healthy. Took a bit of a flyer pick on Adam Troutman as our high upside tight end. He's got virtually no floor, as I mentioned, but I think that it's worth just tossing one dart at the board, hoping it sticks on and you ride with him the whole season. David Montgomery, Deontay Johnson as my flex players. I feel really comfortable with the stability in those picks. The Dolphins, again, I like that disguised defensive look. Michael Carter being a skilled pass catcher. I like him as my RB4. Doesn't have to be a starter, but could be a high upside league winner down the stretch. Boyd, Samuel, 2 really nice reserve receivers on the bench. Jamal Williams, a guy I like a lot at the running back position. Then Kirk Cousins is my backup quarterback. Would likely only start him in an Aaron Rodgers bye week or a really tough matchup, but a very, very quality option to have. And then Russell Gage and Tre'Quan Smith, 2 of my favorite sleeper wide receivers this fantasy season because of the immense value they provide. So there you have it. Those were my draft picks. Let me know down in the comment section below what you thought about today's draft, where you would have went differently with some of the picks here. And if you want to become a part of the mock drafts here on the channel with subscribers and Discord members, remember, the free invite link to the Discord is in the description of today's video. Go click that up. Go join that. I'll give you member access to that relatively quickly as soon as I see that you're in there. And pop back in that Discord channel myself to answer some fantasy questions and give some help. But other than that, now that'll do it for today's video. Mock draft week day 5 is tomorrow on Friday. We'll be having a new updated video coming out based on the best strategy and how to win your 2021 fantasy football leagues from the draft day. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Turn that bell on so you're notified when those videos go live. I'll be having Saturday and Sunday episodes out this week, and I'll hopefully be posting some exclusive articles and videos on the draft guide collection this weekend as well, on top of some SFS Gold content that I should get rolling out here pretty quickly. But here we go. I mean, NFL fantasy season's approaching. It's dang near here, and it's time to go. So make sure you're ready to do that. SFS, myself, we're here to prepare you and make sure you're ready to go. And I want to be the most interactive fantasy channel out there, helping you get the information and the knowledge you need this season. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you guys' time. If you're still here on today's video, that means a lot to me. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.